often with you?
Well, look, it's not going away because there's a problem, right? This isn't just people deciding to bring something up out of nowhere. There's a problem. There's a problem that's been going on and on and on. And look, for people who say that athletes shouldn't have a voice, that's garbage. They should have a voice. These are human beings. They're complete human beings. These aren't just, hey, go out there and play for us. For anybody to get upset that they're using their platform to take a stand, why is it okay for other people to use their platform to take stands all over Twitter and different jobs? There's an issue here. There's a big problem, and good for them to speak up about it. Use what you've been blessed with to make change when change is necessary.
Yeah, it's so funny how people on social media don't want athletes to have an opinion on politics, yet they have opinions on politics. It's amazing how that works.
So they have opinions on sports. Why can't people in sports and have opinions on somewhere else?
Thank you.
The great thing, if you listen to a locker room, though, if the rest of the country was like a locker room, this country would be in a much better place. There's empathy for people in there, regardless of what your skin color is or what you believe. Guys can fight something out about different sides of politics, and then they're all there. They're making up. They love each other, and literally 0.2 seconds later. And if you're in a locker room, and you've been there, Colin, the different viewpoints that are expressed and the way they're delivered in locker rooms is they're incredibly smart melting pots, all coming together. I know it's coming together for a common goal, which is not white or black, but silver, which is the color of that ring. But they all, when they get together, man, locker rooms are hilarious. They're thought out. They're thought-provoking. And the biggest thing is that people can have different opinions and not hate each other over it. Imagine that. How? Wow, what a great idea.
Yeah, it's amazing. LeBron James yesterday changed his opinion 3 times. At 8 o'clock, he wanted out. In the morning, he wanted to think about it. And then this morning, he's like, okay, I want to play. What's great about athletes in locker rooms is they listen. Like they're willing to change. In a country where nobody changes their mind anymore, pro athletes, right. I mean, they come to you. Jay, make me better at this. Jay, connect me with this. Like I find players so willing to listen because let's be honest, they want to be heard, but they want to be great. I mean, you for a living, you literally deal with athletes who come to you, ask questions, listen, and do stuff. You're like a mentor to something. I mean, seriously, it's amazing. Yeah.
I try. I mean, who would have thought growing up that I'd be a mentor to grown men? But yeah, it actually happens. Mom, how did I get here?
Yeah. So let's talk. You were at the Cowboy camp. A lot of talk about Earl Thomas. Mike McCarthy made it pretty clear. Chemistry is the key on this team because we like what we've got. I don't really buy into the Cowboys and Earl Thomas. I think Jerry sort of kept it alive. What do you hear?
I think Jerry's the only one. Look, anytime there's somebody like that out there, Jerry loves to, okay, do we swing for the fences? But you're right. The chemistry out there with the Cowboys, there's a different pace there this year. There's just a different attitude. It's just kind of, it's grunt, grunt, grunt. These are a bunch of grunts now coming together. It was just different. It's different than what it's felt like in the past, no doubt about it. But yeah, I mean, you look at Earl Thomas and you have to say to yourself, and if the question is, at what price? So if Earl Thomas comes, really cheap, do you go and you sign him? And look, if you think he's going to take away from your team chemistry, then there shouldn't be a price. It doesn't matter what that price is because it takes away from team chemistry. If you think, all right, this guy still has a lot in the tank and he can add to team chemistry, that's a different story, but that's not the story that we're talking about.
So you were at the Cowboy camp. Was the intensity, the energy, kind of give me a sense of what, because you go to it every year, what felt different about the Cowboy camp?
It was a lot more intense. That was without a doubt. It was intense. It was more, in the past, man, it was kind of, Cowboys practices have been fun in the past. This was Mike McCarthy coming in. Mike is a grunt. When I say that, you couldn't have a bigger compliment for a football person than being a grunt. And I think the rest of the team started to take that personality on. There's a lot of things that, in Dallas, they've had good rosters in the past. And I do think the Joneses as the GM have done a really good job over the last few years, but it's harder for people to see because the Cowboys as the show a lot of times overshadows that. But man, if you look at the roster this year and the roster last year was probably the deepest roster in the NFL, and they came up very short. So you have to look at it and say, what were we missing here? And I just think that they need to kind of go back to how it was under Jimmy, just a grunt going in there and working these guys.
You were at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers camp as well. I've been at that a few times. So I mean, I think it's going to work. I think Todd Bowles is the untold story of this camp. I think the defense is going to carry the offense through September. What's your takeaway? How was the vibe? How was the energy in Tampa?
It was, look, as much as we want to talk about Tom outside the Buccaneers, they were talking about Tom inside the Buccaneers and what he's been able to do with other people. And you just saw Mike Evans on your screen there. I know Tom has worked with him. And Mike Evans is a guy, phenomenal. And he's probably left some stuff on the table in the past. Now with Tom, I don't think you're going to see that. I know they're working together. O.J. Howard, which we thought that maybe they're going to look to trade him. They couldn't stop talking about O.J. Howard. Again, Tom working with O.J. Howard. And I think for Tom, he now is at a place where he feels heard. I think in New England, he didn't feel heard. Not that he wanted things my way, his way, whatever. I know with the Buccaneers, he feels heard. He goes in there, he makes suggestions. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. But, Bruce Arians, oh, my God, Bruce absolutely loves Tom Brady. And he has been around the Peyton Mannings and the Ben Roethlisberger and the Andrew Lucks and Bear Bryant. I mean, he's been around everybody. And, man, he could not stop gushing about Tom the other night.
So, I think it's pretty remarkable. I've seen the numbers on the COVID testing, very few positives. And it's funny, Jay, there is, I've seen this in baseball, there's a peer pressure.
Yes.
And do you sense that where, like, guys are watching guys and making them accountable?
Yeah. The best thing that happened for football is the mess ups in baseball. And even this person leaving the bubble in NBA to go to a strip club for wings. That's the best thing that happened to football because there was such outrage. And then they immediately came to camp and they talked to each other about putting that pressure on each other. Every person I've talked to going into this year said the same thing. Whoever's healthiest wins. And that's what they're all telling their team.
Wow. How about that? Yeah, and it's funny. I saw Cleveland the other day has had a rough camp, Jay. They've had multiple injuries. It's funny about no preseason. I've never been a fan of preseason, Jay. I've always thought it's a little bit of nonsense. College.
Hey, Colin, I'm sorry. When I said healthy, I didn't mean those injuries like the Browns are having. I meant the COVID.
Oh.
That's what they're telling their team. Whoever is healthiest there. Because, listen, right now they're all in camp and they're in somewhat of a bubble together because all their time is taken up. But the fear is once training camp ends and you go into the season, every time one of these players goes home, there's 53 different stories that then walk into your locker room the next day.
Yeah.
And that's when the challenge starts. That's when they really have to police each other.
Yeah. When you look at all these teams and you bounce around the league, no preseason. Is there a fear there could be injuries? I mean, you need to get whacked a few times in this league to build up that mettle. How are teams combating that? Are they talking about that, Jay? No preseason, not as many hits. Then you go 0 to 60, boom, in 1 minute.
Sure. Yeah, that's like not being able to spar going into a fight. You need to get your body ready for it. But it's not the preseason games because the preseason games are more for those down the road players and who may stand out suddenly as a gunner on special teams or something along those lines. But more so, losing the whole offseason workout program, losing the OTAs, losing really all the training camp, that's what they're more concerned with. You're talking about going 0 to 60. Back in the day, people used training camp to get in shape. And, last couple of decades, the NFL and teams made sure that wasn't the case anymore.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden this year, we've fallen back into that.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, Jay, you look healthy. Stay healthy, continued success, and thanks for joining us on Late Notice today, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Always. Absolutely. Love you guys.
All right. The Athletic, Fox Sports NFL Insider. Good to see Jay Glazer. Coming up next, Jim Jackson joins us in the NBA Bubble Live. Most men start losing their hair, not Jim, by the age of 35 years old. At that point, it can be too late. It can be frustrating. What do you do about it? Well, we have something. It's called Hims.